Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen and enjoy my stories every day. The room is sterile, too clean, too white. The faint hum of fluorescent lights above is the only sound that breaks the silence, aside from the ticking of the wall clock that seems to echo louder with each second. I sit there, clutching my hands together, the coldness of the room seeping into my bones. Across from me, Samantha lies on the hospital bed, her pale face almost blending with the sheets. My wife. My love. The woman I swore to protect, to cherish, to stand by in sickness and in health. But now, I'm helpless. All I can do is wait. Wait for the surgeon to tell me that my kidney is compatible, that I can save her. It's ironic, really. The one time I want to be a match for something, it's this. Ethan. Samantha's voice is barely a whisper, her eyes fluttering open as she tries to focus on me. I'm here, I say, leaning forward, my chair scraping against the floor. I'm not going anywhere. She gives me a weak smile, her lips dry and cracked. I know this is hard for you, but I don't want you to do this out of obligation. Obligation? I nearly laugh, but it comes out as more of a choked sob. Samantha, I'm doing this because I love you. I can't imagine life without you. She closes her eyes, a single tear sliding down her cheek. I just don't want you to regret it. I reach out and gently wipe the tear away, my thumb lingering on her cool skin. The only thing I would regret is losing you. There's a knock at the door, and we both look up as Dr. Harris walks in. He's tall, confident, with a smile that's supposed to be reassuring but feels like it's hiding something. His eyes flicker between us before settling on me. Ethan, Samantha, he begins, his voice smooth, practiced. We've completed all the tests, and I have good news. Ethan, you're a perfect match. A wave of relief washes over me, but it's tinged with the weight of what's to come. When can we do it? I ask, squeezing Samantha's hand. Dr. Harris's smile widens. We can schedule the surgery for tomorrow morning. The sooner, the better. I nod, my heart pounding. This is it. The moment that could change everything. I glance at Samantha, who looks both relieved and terrified. I wish I could take all her fear away, absorb it into myself, but all I can do is offer her my strength. The next few hours are a blur. Signing papers, listening to the surgeons explain the procedure, trying to reassure Samantha that everything will be fine. We don't talk much, but we don't need to. Our hands remain intertwined, our silence a testament to the bond we share. That night, I barely sleep. I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with thoughts of what could go wrong. But more than that, I think about the future we'll have together after the surgery. The life we'll rebuild once this is all over. The surgery is over before I know it. I wake up in a different room, my body aching, a dull pain throbbing in my side where the kidney used to be. The nurse tells me everything went smoothly, that Samantha is still in recovery but she's going to be okay. Relief crashes over me like a tidal wave, and I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. A few days later, I'm allowed to visit Samantha. She's sitting up in bed, color slowly returning to her cheeks. When she sees me, her eyes light up, and for a moment, everything feels right in the world. Hey, hero, she says, her voice stronger than it's been in weeks. Hey yourself, I reply, sinking into the chair beside her bed. How are you feeling? Better, she says, her hand finding mine. Because of you. We sit there, talking about everything and nothing, just happy to be together. But there's something different in her eyes, something I can't quite place. I brush it off, telling myself it's just the aftermath of the surgery. Months pass. Samantha's health improves, and slowly, life begins to return to normal, or as normal as it can be after something like this. I go back to work, trying to catch up on everything I missed, while Samantha spends more time at the hospital for follow-ups and therapy. It's during one of these follow-up visits that everything changes. I come home early from work, planning to surprise Samantha and take her out for dinner. But when I walk into the house, I find it empty. Odd. I check my phone, no messages, no missed calls. Just as I'm about to call her, I notice her calendar on the kitchen counter. Today's date is circled, with Dr. Harris scribbled next to it. Something twists in my gut, a nagging feeling I can't shake off. I grab my keys and head out, my mind racing with possibilities, none of them good. I reach the hospital in record time, making my way to Dr. Harris's office. As I approach, I hear voices, Samantha's and Dr. Harris's, muffled through the closed door. I'm about to knock when I hear something that stops me cold. A laugh. Her laugh. But it's not the warm, familiar sound I know. It's different, almost flirtatious. I press my ear to the door, my heart pounding in my chest. I can't believe we're doing this, Samantha says, her voice low, intimate. It's the thrill, Dr. Harris replies, his tone smug. No one suspects a thing. My blood turns to ice. This can't be happening. Not after everything we've been through. I push the door open, and the scene that greets me is worse than I imagined. Samantha is perched on the edge of Dr. Harris's desk, her hand resting on his shoulder as they share a moment that is far too intimate to be professional. They both freeze, their faces draining of color as they see me standing in the doorway. Ethan, Samantha starts, her voice trembling, but I hold up a hand to stop her. Don't, I say, my voice cold, foreign to my own ears. I don't want to hear it. I turn on my heel and walk out, my heart shattering with every step. The drive home is a blur, my mind numb, my body on autopilot. How could she do this? After everything we've been through, after I gave her a part of myself to save her life, she betrays me with the very man who was supposed to save her. By the time I get home, my shock has turned to rage. A cold, calculating rage that seeps into my very soul. I won't let her get away with this. She took my trust, my love, and threw it away. Now, it's my turn. I sit down at the kitchen table, my mind racing with plans, with ways to make her pay for what she's done. I will ruin her, and that smug bastard of a doctor who thought he could take what was mine. I will make them both regret ever crossing me. And when I'm done, there will be nothing left for them. I take a deep breath, steadying myself. This is just the beginning. The first move in a game I'm determined to win. I'll bide my time, make sure every step is perfect. After all, revenge is a dish best served cold. The next few days are a haze of raw emotion, the pain of betrayal gnawing at my insides like a vicious animal. I go through the motions, showing up to work, engaging in forced small talk with colleagues, but inside I'm unraveling. My mind is consumed with thoughts of Samantha and Dr. Harris, how they betrayed me, how they laughed together, how they must have thought I'd never find out. But I did find out. And now, it's my turn. I'm sitting in my car, parked a few blocks away from the hospital, when I finally snap out of my haze. I can't keep wallowing in self-pity. I have to do something. My fingers drum against the steering wheel as I form a plan in my head. It's risky, but if I pull it off, it'll be worth it. The first step is gathering information. I can't take them down without knowing their vulnerabilities, their secrets. I need to find out more about Dr. Harris, who he is, what makes him tick, and most importantly, how I can ruin him. And Samantha. I need to know how deep her betrayal goes. I start by hiring a private investigator. It's a move I've never imagined making, but desperate times call for desperate measures. The PI is a grizzled man in his 50s named Jackson. He meets me at a coffee shop downtown, his eyes sharp and calculating as he listens to my story. So you want dirt on the good doctor, huh? Jackson asks, stirring his black coffee with a slow, deliberate motion. I nod, my hands clenched around my own cup. And on my wife. I want to know everything, how long this has been going on, where they meet, what they talk about. Everything. Jackson leans back in his chair, considering me. This isn't going to be cheap. And once we start digging, there's no turning back. You sure you're ready for that? I stare at him, the weight of my decision pressing down on me. But I know there's no other way. I'm sure. I need to do this. All right then, Jackson says, pulling out a small notepad from his coat pocket. I'll get started right away. I'll be in touch. With that, he's gone, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a sense of grim determination. This is just the beginning. Jackson is efficient, I'll give him that. Within a few days, he has a preliminary report for me, and we meet again in the same coffee shop. This time, he slides a manila envelope across the table to me, his expression unreadable. Everything you asked for, he says, taking a sip of his coffee. You're not going to like what you see, but you wanted the truth. My hands tremble slightly as I open the envelope, pulling out the stack of photos and documents inside. The first image makes my stomach turn, Samantha and Dr. Harris, kissing in a parking lot. It's all the proof I need, but there's more. Photos of them together at a hotel, dinner dates, even a weekend getaway to a cabin I didn't know existed. They've been seeing each other for months, Jackson says quietly, watching my reaction. Started shortly after your wife's surgery. Looks like it wasn't just a one-time thing. I swallow hard, forcing myself to look at the rest of the evidence. It's all there in black and white, phone records, text messages, receipts. The betrayal is so complete, so thorough, that it almost knocks the wind out of me. But I can't afford to fall apart. Not now. Not when I'm this close. What about Harris? I ask, my voice strained. What do you have on him? Jackson smirks, pulling out another folder. Plenty. The guy's got a history of screwing around, but he's careful. Doesn't leave much of a trail. But I dug up some stuff that might interest you. He hands me the folder, and I flip through it. Financial records, questionable transactions, rumors of malpractice that never quite reached the light of day. Harris is smart, but he's also arrogant. He thinks he's untouchable. Perfect, I mutter, a cold smile forming on my lips. This is exactly what I needed. Armed with the evidence, I know it's time to confront Samantha. I can't keep pretending everything is normal. I need to see her face when I lay it all out in front of her. That evening, I wait for her to come home, my heart pounding in my chest. She walks in the door, smiling, and for a moment I'm struck by how normal she looks, like nothing's wrong, like she hasn't shattered my world. Hey, she says, setting down her bag. You're home early. Yeah, I reply, my voice tight. I thought we should talk. She looks at me, her smile faltering. About what? I reach into my pocket and pull out one of the photos Jackson gave me, tossing it onto the table between us. It's the one of her and Harris in the parking lot, their lips locked in a kiss. Samantha's face goes pale, her eyes widening in shock. Ethan, Don't, I cut her off, my voice cold and unyielding. I've seen enough. I know everything. She stares at the photo, then back at me, tears welling up in her eyes. Ethan, please, let me explain. Explain. I laugh bitterly. What's there to explain? You betrayed me. After everything I've done for you, you go and do this? Tears spill down her cheeks, but I feel nothing. The love I once felt is buried under layers of anger and hurt. It wasn't supposed to happen, she says, her voice trembling. I was confused, and he was there for me when I felt lost. And I wasn't. I snap, my anger flaring. I gave you my kidney, Samantha. I saved your life. And this is how you repay me. She sobs, collapsing into a chair, but I can't bring myself to comfort her. Not anymore. I'm sorry, she whispers, but the words feel hollow, meaningless. Sorry isn't good enough, I say, my voice hard as steel. I'm done, Samantha. We're done. I want you out of this house by the end of the week. And don't even think about going to Harris. I have enough on him to ruin both of you. Her eyes widen in fear, and I know she understands the gravity of my words. I've laid my cards on the table, and there's no going back. Ethan, please. Get out, I say, cutting her off. I don't want to hear another word. Just pack your things and leave. She stares at me for a long moment, her face a mask of misery and regret, before she finally nods. Without another word, she gets up and heads upstairs, her footsteps heavy with the weight of what she's lost. I watch her go, my heart a twisted knot of emotions. But beneath the pain, there's a sense of satisfaction. This is just the beginning. Harris and Samantha have no idea what's coming. With Samantha out of the house, I feel a strange mix of relief and emptiness. The silence is deafening, but it's better than the lies and deceit that once filled these walls. I spend my days working, my nights planning my next move. I know I can't stop here. Ruining Harris is the next step, and I need to be meticulous. I start by leaking the malpractice rumors to a few well-placed contacts in the medical community, ensuring that whispers of his unethical practices start to spread. I also make anonymous tips to the hospital administration about his affair with a patient's wife, something that would not only ruin his career but also destroy his reputation. As the days turn into weeks, I watch as the wheels begin to turn. Harris starts to look more haggard, more paranoid, as the pressure builds. He's being investigated, his colleagues are turning on him, and the hospital is distancing itself from him. It's only a matter of time before he's brought down completely. And as for Samantha, I hear through mutual friends that she's struggling. She's lost, adrift without the stability I provided. Part of me feels a pang of guilt, but I push it aside. She made her choices, and now she has to live with them. One evening, as I'm sitting in my empty house, the phone rings. It's Jackson. You did good, Ethan, he says, his voice gruff but approving. Harris is on the ropes, and your wife, well, she's out of your life. You got what you wanted. I nod, though he can't see me. Yeah. I did. But as I hang up the phone, I can't shake the feeling that something's still missing. I've done what I set out to do, but there's an emptiness inside me that I can't fill. Maybe it's the loss of the life I once had, or maybe it's the realization that revenge isn't as satisfying as I thought it would be. Whatever it is, I know one thing for sure, I'll never be the same. And neither will they. The morning sun filters through the blinds of my bedroom, casting thin slats of light across the bed. The house is silent, too silent. The absence of Samantha's presence is something I'm still getting used to. The emptiness is a constant reminder of the betrayal and the vengeance I've set in motion. But there's no turning back now. This is what I wanted. What I needed. I push myself out of bed, the familiar ache in my side a dull reminder of the kidney I gave to Samantha, the same kidney she repaid by tearing out my heart. I glance at the clock. It's early, but I'm wide awake, thoughts racing, unable to shake the restlessness that's settled over me. I need to see the aftermath. I need to know that my actions are having the desired effect. The need for validation is like a thirst I can't quench. I grab my phone and scroll through the contact list until I find Jackson's number. He answers on the second ring, his voice gruff and tired. Ethan, he says, clearly not a morning person. What's up? I need an update, I say, skipping the pleasantries. On Harris. What's happening? There's a pause on the other end, and I can almost picture Jackson rubbing the sleep from his eyes. You're really into this, aren't you? I don't reply. My silence is answer enough. He sighs. All right. From what I've gathered, Harris is in deep shit. The hospital's investigating him for the malpractice accusations, and they've put him on administrative leave pending the outcome. The affair you tipped them off about didn't help his case. The guy's reputation is in the gutter. A grim satisfaction settles over me, but it's not enough. And Samantha? I ask, unable to keep the curiosity out of my voice. Jackson hesitates. She's staying with a friend, from what I've heard. She's not doing too well, Ethan. This whole thing has hit her hard. I grip the phone tighter, my emotions swirling between anger and a strange sense of pity. I'm about to say something when Jackson interrupts my thoughts. Listen, he says, his tone softer now, almost cautious. I get why you're doing this. But you need to ask yourself if this is really what you want. Ruining their lives won't fix what happened. His words hit me like a punch to the gut, but I can't afford to waver now. I appreciate the concern, Jackson, but this is something I have to see through. I'll pay you double to keep following them. I need to know everything. Jackson sighs again, but he agrees. After the call, I sit on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall, trying to push away the nagging doubt that's starting to creep in. I decide to visit the hospital. Not to see Harris or confront him, no, I'm not that reckless, but to feel the atmosphere, to sense the ripple effects of the chaos I've caused. I dress in casual clothes, hoping to blend in as just another visitor. As I walk through the front doors, the familiar sterile smell hits me, and a flood of memories I'd rather forget comes rushing back. I make my way to the waiting area near Harris's office, where I know the staff gossip flows freely. I sit down, pretending to read a magazine, but my ears are tuned to the conversations around me. Did you hear about Dr. Harris? A nurse whispers to another, her eyes wide with excitement. He's been suspended. Something about malpractice and an affair with a patient's wife. The other nurse gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. No way. I knew something was off about him. He always had that sleazy vibe. I smirk to myself, savoring the confirmation that my plan is working. But my satisfaction is short-lived as I hear footsteps approaching. I glance up to see a familiar face, Dr. Simmons, a colleague of Harris and someone I'd met briefly during Samantha's treatment. He stops when he sees me, surprise flickering across his face. Ethan, he says, his voice tinged with concern. What are you doing here? I quickly pull myself together, forcing a smile. Just visiting. Thought I'd check in on things. Dr. Simmons doesn't seem convinced. He sits down beside me, lowering his voice. Look, I know what happened with Samantha and Harris. The whole hospital knows by now. But, Ethan, this isn't healthy. You should be focusing on moving forward, not, whatever this is. His words echo Jackson's, but I'm not ready to listen. I'm fine, Dr. Simmons. Really. I just needed some closure. He studies me for a moment, then nods, though I can tell he doesn't believe me. If you ever need to talk, my door is always open. You're a good man, Ethan. Don't let this consume you. I force another smile, thanking him before making a hasty exit. The conversation leaves me feeling raw, exposed. I walk back to my car, my mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. I've come this far. I can't back down now. A few days later, I receive a call from Jackson. His voice is tense, urgent. Ethan, you need to come down to the hospital. Harris is there, and things are heating up. I don't hesitate. I jump in my car and drive to the hospital, my heart pounding. When I arrive, I see a small crowd gathered near the entrance, whispering and pointing. I push my way through, my eyes scanning the scene until I spot Harris standing near the entrance, his face flushed with anger, arguing with Dr. Simmons. You have no right to suspend me. Harris is shouting, his voice carrying over the murmurs of the crowd. This is a witch hunt, and you know it. Dr. Simmons stands his ground, his expression calm but firm. Dr. Harris, this isn't just about the malpractice allegations. There are serious ethical concerns here. We have to protect our patients and the hospital's reputation. Harris's eyes are wild, his composure crumbling in front of everyone. This is all a setup. I've done nothing wrong. I stepped closer, unnoticed by the crowd, my heart racing. This is the moment I've been waiting for. The moment where Harris's world comes crashing down. But as I watch him, a man unraveling, I feel a pang of doubt. Is this really what I wanted? To see him destroyed like this? Suddenly, Harris's gaze locks onto mine, and his eyes narrow. He pushes through the crowd, heading straight for me. The people around us fall silent, watching the confrontation unfold. You! Harris spits, his face inches from mine. This is your doing, isn't it? You've been out to get me from the start. I don't flinch. I meet his glare with cold indifference. You brought this on yourself, Harris. You made your choices. His hands clench into fists, and for a moment, I think he's going to hit me. But then he steps back, his expression twisting into something darker, something almost desperate. This isn't over, he growls. You think you've won, but you haven't. I'll make you pay for this. Before I can respond, Harris turns and storms off, disappearing into the hospital. The crowd slowly disperses, the excitement fading now that the drama is over. I stand there, my mind reeling, unsure of what to feel. Dr. Simmons approaches me, his expression troubled. Ethan, I'm not sure what's going on between you two, but this needs to end. Harris is dangerous when he's cornered. I nod, but my thoughts are elsewhere. Harris's words echo in my mind. This isn't over. He's not done with me yet. The next few days are tense. I can feel the weight of what I've done pressing down on me, but there's no time to dwell on it. Jackson keeps me updated, and it's clear that Harris is scrambling to save his career, his life. He's reaching out to anyone who will listen, trying to spin the narrative in his favor, but it's too late. The damage is done. One evening, as I'm sitting in my living room, nursing a drink, there's a knock at the door. I'm not expecting anyone, and a sense of unease settles over me as I go to answer it. When I open the door, I'm greeted by a woman I don't recognize. She's in her late 30s, with dark hair pulled back into a neat bun and a no-nonsense expression. She holds up a badge, identifying herself as Detective Laura Martinez. Mr. Ethan Carter, she asks, her voice calm but firm. I nod, my heart sinking. Yes. Can I help you? She gives me a long, measured look before speaking. I'd like to ask you a few questions about Dr. Harris. There's been some disturbing developments, and your name has come up. I feel a cold sweat break out across my skin. Disturbing developments? I echo, trying to keep my voice steady. Detective Martinez nods, her expression unreadable. Why don't we step inside and talk? I step aside, letting her in, my mind racing. What could Harris have done now? And why is the police involved? As I close the door behind her, I realize that my quest for revenge has taken a turn I never anticipated. The stakes are higher than ever, and the game has just gotten much more dangerous. And as Detective Martinez begins her questioning, I can't shake the feeling that the true cost of my actions is yet to come. Detective Martinez sits across from me at the kitchen table, her eyes sharp, taking in every detail. I offer her a cup of coffee, trying to keep my hands steady. She declines, pulling out a notepad and pen. Mr. Carter, she begins, her voice measured. I'm here because Dr. Harris has filed a complaint. He claims you've been harassing him and that you orchestrated a campaign to ruin his career. Care to comment on that? I take a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Detective, Dr. Harris had an affair with my wife. I found out, and yes, I exposed the truth. But I didn't fabricate anything. Everything I revealed was factual. Martinez nods, jotting down notes. I understand your anger, Mr. Carter, but there are legal boundaries. Harassment is a serious accusation. I need to know if there's more to this story. I'm about to respond when my phone buzzes on the table. I glance at the screen. It's Jackson. Excuse me for a moment, I say, stepping into the hallway to take the call. Ethan, it's urgent. Jackson's voice is tense. I dug deeper into Harris's background. There's something you need to know. What is it? I ask, my heart pounding. There's evidence suggesting Harris manipulated the transplant process, Jackson says. He might have falsified the compatibility results to ensure you were a match for Samantha. He knew about your wealth, and he's been in financial trouble. He used you to save his career and his life. I feel the ground shift beneath me. Are you saying he planned all this? Looks that way, Jackson replies. And there's more. Samantha might have been in on it. The phone slips from my hand, the sound echoing in the hallway. I stumble back to the kitchen, my mind reeling. Martinez looks up, concern flickering in her eyes. Mr. Carter, are you all right? No, I manage to say, my voice shaking. There's been a terrible mistake. I need to show you something. Detective Martinez follows me to my study, where I pull out the files Jackson compiled. I spread them across the desk, pointing out the incriminating evidence. Harris manipulated the transplant results, I explain. He used me. And Samantha, she might have known. Martinez studies the documents, her expression growing more serious by the second. This is significant, Mr. Carter. If this is true, it changes everything. She steps back, pulling out her phone. I need to call this in. We'll need a full investigation. As she makes the call, I feel a cold clarity settle over me. Harris used my love for Samantha against me, and she betrayed me in ways I couldn't have imagined. Detective Martinez arranges for us to meet with Harris and Samantha at the hospital, under police supervision. The atmosphere is tense as we enter the conference room. Harris is already there, looking agitated, and Samantha sits beside him, her face pale. What's this about? Harris demands, his eyes darting between Martinez and me. Martinez stands firm, her voice steady. Dr. Harris, there are serious allegations against you. Evidence suggests you manipulated transplant compatibility results and exploited Mr. Carter for financial gain. Harris's face drains of color. That's absurd. I did no such thing. Samantha's eyes widen, fear flickering across her features. Ethan, what is this? What are they talking about? I turn to her, my voice cold. Did you know, Samantha? Did you know he used me? That he manipulated everything? Tears well up in her eyes. No, Ethan, I swear. I didn't know. I thought he was helping us. I search her face for any sign of deceit, but all I see is desperation. Harris, on the other hand, looks like a cornered animal. You can't prove any of this, he snaps. This is just a vendetta. Martinez steps forward, her expression hard. We have enough evidence to warrant a full investigation, Dr. Harris. If you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to worry about. Days turn into weeks as the investigation unfolds. The truth slowly comes to light: Harris's financial troubles, his manipulation of the transplant results, his affair with Samantha. The hospital suspends him, and he faces criminal charges for fraud and malpractice. Samantha's role remains murky. She insists she was unaware of Harris's deceit, but the trust between us is irrevocably shattered. One evening, she shows up at the house, her face a mask of sorrow. Ethan, she says, standing on the porch. Can we talk? I step aside, letting her in, though every part of me wants to shut the door in her face. We sit in the living room, the silence heavy between us. I'm sorry, she begins, her voice trembling. I never meant for any of this to happen. I was scared, and Harris, he made me believe he was our only hope. Did you love him? I ask, my voice hollow. She shakes her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. No. It was never love. It was desperation. I look at her, the woman I once loved more than anything, and all I feel is a deep, aching emptiness. We're done, Samantha. There's no coming back from this. She nods, her sobs shaking her shoulders. I know. I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry. She leaves, and as the door closes behind her, I feel a sense of finality. The chapter of my life with Samantha is over, and there's no turning back. Harris's trial is a media sensation. The story of the doctor who manipulated a transplant to save his career captures public attention, and his downfall is swift and brutal. He's stripped of his medical license and sentenced to prison for his crimes. Samantha disappears from my life. I hear rumors that she's moved to another city, trying to rebuild. Part of me wishes her well, but another part can't forget the betrayal. As for me, I try to move forward. It's not easy, and the scars run deep. But I've learned to live with the pain, to let it shape me but not define me. One evening, as I sit on the porch watching the sun set, I get a call from Jackson. You did good, Ethan, he says. You brought the truth to light. That takes courage. Thanks, Jackson, I reply, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. I couldn't have done it without you. He chuckles. Anytime. Take care of yourself. I hang up, feeling a sense of closure. The journey has been long and painful, but I've emerged stronger. The deception is revealed, the betrayals exposed, and the people who wronged me have paid the price. As the sun dips below the horizon, I take a deep breath, ready to face whatever comes next. The past is behind me, and a new chapter begins.